Today I'm going to be replacing the fuel sender in my van because probably, as many of you have had the problem with, my fuel gauge does this whilst I'm driving along. Now, I'm not totally sure that it is the fuel sender, but the fuel sender was the cheapest part to start with. So I'm going to replace the fuel sender, the line that goes down to the dial, and then if that doesn't work, eventually I'll have to change the dial. So I've got myself a new sender from nice people at Just Campers. It is. So this is a tube type, which is, I think, is the older type. You get these in Mercedes, but you also get them in split screen camper vans of the earlier type. So you just have one cable which goes onto here, which the dial measures the resistance of that the float produces when it goes up and down. So when you have petrol, petrol fills up, and then it measures resistance between here and here. So the old one probably has got a load of muck on the inside of it. Now I could take that out and clean it, but also there's two wires, one there, one there, which the float goes up and down on. And if one of those broken, it can be a little bit of a pain to replace that. So rather than sort of get it out and then find that there's more problems, I'm just going to replace it with a new one, and hopefully that'll be just it. But as is with all of these things, you open a can of worms. Anyway, to the van. Good morning. It is the next day, and we are going to replace the fuel sender in the van. And I backed the van out this morning, and the problem with the fuel sender is it's a little bit intermittent. So I'm going to show you what the dial's doing at the moment, and you'll see that you probably go, well that looks perfectly okay to me, mine does that as well. But it's intermittent, so sometimes it will show that it's empty when I know it's full, and sometimes it will show that it's full when I know it's empty. This is my Brazilian camper van. There we go. And I got it about 3 years ago. I've been doing work on it, and replaced the engine, replaced the steering box, which probably I should have done videos on, which would have been rather good. I've done lots of work to it, but there's still lots more to do. So anyway, let's have a look. Here we go then. Right. Ready for the excitement. There we go. So that probably looks perfectly normal to you, but as I said, sometimes it'll do that and sometimes it won't. So we're going to take the sender out and we're going to replace it. I'm not even sure if it is 3/4 full, actually. I think it's a lot less than that, so we're going to replace the sender anyway. Right, so just before I show you the sender, these seats, I got them from a seat making company, obviously, and I wondered if anybody's got a great idea how I can attach these seats to this frame, because every time I drive they fall off, obviously, and so they just slip off. So if anybody's got some great ideas, or if anybody's got a van where they've had this problem before and they've solved it, and they could show me some pictures, that would be a really great idea. Anyway, let's get down to doing the sender. Right, Phil's finally up out of his bed.
Yep.
And this is the panel. Underneath this panel is the sender. Sorry, this panel here. So we're going to take this off. Phil's going to take this off.
Right, yes.
And I'm going to point the camera.
Oh, we need a slightly bigger Philp screw. There's no screw in that one. No, that one.
I've had them off before, so
yeah,
they do come off.
They're getting a bit rusty.
Yeah. That whole panel could do with re-engineering, actually. It's not in the best of conditions.
Yeah, it's okay, just needs
I'll tell you a funny story about petrol tanks. Well, it's not necessarily funny, but my dad used to drive Beetles when he was younger.
Yeah.
And he used to restore them as well.
Yeah, I remember you telling me, yeah.
And he was telling me that he had a particular problem with one of these Beetles. It was quite new, and he couldn't get it going. It used to cut out and everything like that.
Yeah.
And he's thinking, oh, it's fuel starvation. I know it's fuel starvation. So he replaced all the relevant parts and things like that.
Need a flat.
Yeah, so it loads and loads of fuel starvation on this Beetle. And then eventually he decides he's going to look in the tank. He looks in the tank to find that the maker's label is floating around inside the tank.
Yeah.
And every time he drives the Beetle uphill, it goes over the hole, for the outlet hole. It cuts the engine out.
Yeah.
So that solved that one.
It's surprising, and sometimes these are not things you look for. Sometimes it's just the simplest issues.
So that's the old sender in there.
Right. It's all very rusty. I'm going to get some before we take this out.
Yeah, because we don't want the bits falling in the tank, do we?
Want a wire brush, and we need to wire brush all this down as well. And put a bit of Waxol on it to stop the corrosion. Because the top of that tank looks, I don't know, is that just, it's just paint on there, and I'm thinking it's rust. But this, let me go and get a wire brush.
Okay, so taking the top off of the lid for where the sender is, and it's a bit rusty, so you're going to put some Vactan on there to convert the rust, and then put some Waxol on after that's dried. Okay. Phil is cleaning that up, and then Henry down there is going to hoover it all out so we don't get rust in the tank. Okay.
I've got a screw missing on here, Ben.
I think you just took that one out, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I did, didn't I? Yeah, of course. Thank you for reminding me.
For those of you who don't know Phil was a bus engineer. Where were you a bus engineer, Phil?
North Shore Transport in Auckland, New Zealand. Did a 5-year apprenticeship on diesel and petrol engine buses, and we did the local fire engines and some commercial company lorries, but mainly worked on the buses. And all those buses are now museum pieces.
I must say that Phil has helped me with my bus ever since I've bought it. I've been very lucky, and Phil has two fine old cars himself. Here's what's the
Triumph Stag
Triumph Stag and a
1959 Armstrong Sibley Star Sapphire.
Which we'll have to have a look at one day, and we'll put them on video. That would be cool, won't it?
We'll have those out this summer if we're all allowed to move around once again.
What year were you a bus engineer?
1960, 65 through to 19.
2 years before this bus was made.
Yeah.
So if you'd been a Brazilian, you might have worked on this bus.
Yeah, that's right. I was right age to. Taking this off to free the float, so it operates correctly.
You need to take that pin out, I think.
What
does it say on the label?
It's in German.
No, it's not. It's in Brazilian.
Portuguese.
No, it is in English. I read it. It says, take the label off and pull the pin out. And then throw it.
Yeah. Remove, tape, aid, and pin before installing. Right, okay.
That's it.
Yeah. Just as where you read that, Ben. So, what do you do?
You'd have thought that would have made it easy to pull that pin out, wouldn't you?
God, it's rounded as well, the edge of it. Why could they do things like that?
You push it through from the other side?
No, it's just... Why do you do these?
That's mad, isn't it?
Let me go and get them. I've got some very long nose ones in here.
Done it. Phil. Yeah.
Surprising working on bloody petrol engine buses which we had in the 60s. Still had chaps smoking around the...
You have accidents with people smoking in their workshop?
No, the only one that there was, though it could have been bad, you know, the acetylene welding equipment, oxyacetylene. Lunchtime, some of the chaps used to go and do jobs for themselves, so they used the company's facilities, and foreman didn't mind. Anyway, we were at lunch, and there's almighty bloody bang in the welding shop. And what happened, one of the young apprentices had left the acetylene bottle tap on, and of course the bloody room had filled up with oxyacetylene.
Yeah.
And I think he lit up a bloody cigarette, almighty bang. I think we're all expecting to go in there and there would be bits of body, but thankfully, apart from he scared himself out of bloody, really frightened himself of what had happened. But things like that make you be very careful what you do. Right, I think that's...
It sounds like a cartoon. Did he have burnt hair and things like that?
No, all his eyebrows were there and everything, yeah. Thankfully for him. I get suspicious when there's little marks like that. What's that for?
They put the fuel tank in a funny place here, didn't they? You got to take the engine out to get the fuel tank out.
Yeah, a lot of it was... You make a thing and then actually the maintenance of it seems to be actually...
I've seen quite a lot of people make access panels for them, proper access panels, so you can remove the
take the whole thing out.
tank out.
Yeah. Trouble is, of course, all this is a part of the structure of the body, the strength of it.
Yeah, of course,
These screws are too bloody short.
So I didn't really explain what the VACTAN was. For those who don't know, the VACTAN is a rust converter. So you put it on rusty metal basically, and it stops it rusting, and hopefully it stops it rusting in the future. So that's what I've done with that top. I probably will get a new one, but for the moment we're going to carry on with this one. And then the Waxhaw just seals it, gives it an extra seal. So just while Phil's putting the sender back into the van, I thought I'd just show you. This is a new driveway that we're digging out so that we can put a carport or a small garage up the top there, because unfortunately my little garage is very, very small, and every time I put it away it's a bit of a squeeze into the garage. So that's one project. We're stuck at the moment because we've got that pipe there is the electric pipe, and we're saving up to have it dropped into the ground. Just had the gas one done. So one thing that we worked out after a little bit of sort of toing and froing is that the gasket,
with that notch,
it doesn't line up with the holes unless you've got the little notch. Where's the notch? I can't see it.
Notch is there, and if you turn
the
it
little
over,
notch is bottom dead center. So this tab here is pointing up towards the cab, and the gasket notch is at the bottom.
Yeah.
And at last the tea has arrived after such a long time. Thank you, B. You're wonderful.
That's all right. Look, sausages as well.
You'll have to pay for such statements.
So we're just now taking the very, very important thing, which is the sausage break. B very kindly has made some sausages for us, and a cup of tea. Oh, and a Kit Kat, which is very nice, isn't it? The new sender in. It was a little bit of a higgledy-piggledy thing to get in there, but it's okay and it's in. It hasn't got the original screws in, and that did cause a little bit of a problem. The gasket on the bottom was too thick for the screws that we had in the pack. Yeah, but that's in there. So Phil is just gonna get in and start it, and I'm gonna take a look at the fuel gauge. And I don't expect much to change, really, although we have had a look at the sender, the one that was in there, and I think there might be a bit of a change.
There's the key going.
On the right hand side.
Right hand side in there. Oh yeah. The mysteries of.
So it is actually reading a different.
Oh, that's working, yeah.
Yeah, it was going up to 2/3 full previously. That's it. So that's actually better, and it was going up to, if you remember, it was going up to 2/3 full. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, 3/4 full.
Yeah, remember,
3/4 full. And what was interesting, when I was turning it off, it went to there and then went down. But now it's got a very positive.
Yeah, that's working.
Yeah, that's fine, isn't it? That's great.
And it would be 3/4 full probably if we were on the flat, because remember all the petrol's back of the tank now.
But the video that I took, it was in this position.
Well, it started easy, didn't it? Wasn't even intended to do that.
Do you want to just start it up? There we go, and it's not jumping around, which is great. great. Which is exactly what we wanted, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, and there's if you listen to the previous video I did, and that was on the exhaust, and the exhaust is now bedded in, and as Phil said to me that it's got carbon deposits on the inside of the exhaust now, so it's got much mellower tone. So that's great. Jobbed, eh?
That's another job done. That's good.
Phil the Fixed strikes again.
Yeah, no, we did joint. That's a joint effort. Nice new gear change on here. It's very. Why is it flopping around on the base?
Oh, Phil's finding another job for us to do. Okay, so this is the fuel sender that came out of the van. It was, as I thought it was, the original one from Brazil. It says Brasilia on there. And if you undo this nut on the bottom, you'll see that we have in the bottom of there's see that this piece here goes across there. On the bottom of there should be two wires which go all the way up. And I don't know if you can see, this is the float. It's the float that goes along here, and I'm not sure if you can see, but these are the wires. Yeah, look at that, so thin. So thin. Now I don't know whether that may well have just been a piece of wire that somebody has put back in there to repair this sender, because to me that that really does seem very, 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 very. It's strong. Oh no, it's not. But in time, anyway, those broke off from the bottom there, and it's very worn out, and the tube is quite manky. I mean, I could have washed that out, and so it was going up and down the tube, but it was getting stuck like that, and that's why my dial was doing this and not giving the right reading. Yeah, so there we go. That's the repair of the sender. That's all for this week, and hopefully we're going to come back with some more videos. We think about doing one on my speedometer, because as most people's speedometers from classic cars, they tend to lie a bit. All right, I'll catch you next time.